Hey everybody, we are live. It's JD here for the Golden Guys. Thank you for being here. Apologize about the last week and beginning to this week. We've just been kind of been hectic around here, but I think everything's settled down, so we're all good. So anyway, welcome back to Golden Guys. Here we are, and I got, of course, my guys. I got DS Comics over here.
What's up? Good to be here again. Yeah, I missed this last week.
Yep. And we got Mike from the Knights of Old right over here.
How's it going, everybody?
We're going to show some stuff. So let me just bring it up here. And to tell anybody want to tell me anything they picked up recently? Do that first.
I've got one book I picked up. It arrived today. I got this from a UK seller. It's a shark cover, Buster Crabs 6. So yeah, I got this for like $40. UK sellers on eBay are good because they don't have the same categories on their eBay. So if you look under like collectibles and comics, you don't find any of their stuff. Their category over there that they list it usually is like US magazines, back issues, comics or something. So you can't search it. But if you find something from a UK seller, search everything they have. And that's how I found this. And, you know, it's about a four or five and $40. So, you know, it's not some killer book, but for $40, I mean, this is a cool shark cover there.
Yeah, we're going to show that again later on.
That's nice.
Awesome.
And I'm happy to tell everybody, the seller, if, no, I mean, the shipping is like, I don't know, like $12 shipping. And I got it from Silver Acre, which I don't know how you can find Silver Acre. I think it's just Silver Acre, but maybe Silver Acre Comics, but whatever. It's a UK seller, and it's like the Metropolis Comics or the Mile High Comics of the UK. They have a huge warehouse, and they have like millions of comics, back issues. So they have so much stuff, and you know, they don't keep up on the price swings that go on here in the States. Not that that's some killer book, but for $40, I mean, there was one in my comic shop for like 150. So there's the price difference between a US seller and a UK seller for that book.
That's good. Yeah, that's one of the things we never did touch on. Do any of us ever buy Golden Age books from sellers that are outside the US? And here's a little tidbit for everybody. I absolutely do. And I do the UK. I do sometimes Canada is sometimes really good. But I have done UK. I have looked around. That's about it. I think one time I did France, but I think it was like a US shop in France that had it, you know. But
yeah, and they sent me something else with this. You know, like when you get your CGC package back, it has like a little brochure in there for some other company that paid them. Well, I guess there's a company called Euro Grading. And it's like the CGC of Europe, and it just opened, and it's brand new. And I had like a cardstock advertisement for them that was in with this. So I think Silver Acre's big over there, so they probably paid them to put that in with everything they ship out. And I got one. I should have saved it. I probably can go grab it here in a few minutes. Maybe I want to see it, but I'm not going to use Euro Grading, obviously. But
yeah, well, no, it's kind of funny because it would be it's a competition, but it's good because. It is good because obviously somebody in Europe is sitting there saying, "Hey, they put their books in plastic over there, you know. They put them so they can't ever read them again. And no matter what it is, it could be a really good book and it could not be, but they got them in this plastic. We got to do that here." And I'm like, and somebody had to sit there and says, "Why the hell would you do that?" And you know, that's it. You know, I'm just telling you this exactly. Because now I'm thinking about it, saying I'm laughing because I love to slab the books right now. But these people, like, their first reaction is probably gonna be the first time I ever saw a slab book. What the hell was that? You know, I thought it was. Why would you do that? But now I'm all into it. So
yeah, their slabs look cool. It looks like they had some pictures of some slabs on the brochure or whatever, and it looked like they have red labels for all of them. But the slabs, just from the photos on the placard or whatever, they looked legit. It looked like it had a solid inner well and a nice case, and it presented good. The label was nothing special, but it was red, and it had the grades on there, and it had some of the notes. It looked like it looked sort of similar to like EGS labels, a little more, like that kind of style. It had the grade in a circle. The slabs look different. It didn't look like they were the same. It looked like they have their own proprietary type slab and inner well. So I don't know. Good. Yeah, it's cool. I'm glad to see it. There's one in Australia too. I think Halo is an Australian one, I think.
Didn't CGC open something in the UK recently? Felt like they.
I heard they were, and maybe that's it.
They have a London office. They did put one there. It was a big deal. I think it was around the time they did their whatever 5 million or 1 million slab or 5 million slab, whatever it was that they did. If you think about it, that's a ridiculous number. But whatever they did was right around that time because it's always been on the cover of the CGC page, which, by the way, is slow to get back to me.
Yeah,
I would have thought that they actually did more than 1 million at this point.
I think it's 5 million.
Oh wow, jeez,
yeah, it's a ton.
Yeah, so are they up to 5 million slabs at CGC? They've done 5 million.
I think it's 5. Yeah, I think that's what they celebrated this year.
Well, the amount they get these days, I can't imagine that's.
And like the 5 million slab was like something. It was like a normal book, like nothing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Cap 1 or, it was actually somebody must know.
Well, yeah, they're probably going to hit 6 million soon.
Right. I think Chris Barrett's right. I think it was a Devil Dinosaur. Yeah. I think he might be right.
I mean, the amount of books that they get these days, especially like in con season with all the moderns and the sign stuff and, Silver Age, all the stuff they're getting, I've got to think they're doing 1 million a year at this point. I mean, that's not a lot of books for like what they're doing. I mean, they're getting so many books. I would think they're going to hit 1 million a year submissions.
Yeah. What did somebody say? There were 14,000. There was some book somebody said that went from like 1,000 slabs like 3 years ago to 14,000. It's like in the top. I forget what one it is. It might be that Deadpool. It might be that one. I don't know. It might be something else. I don't know what it is. It's just ridiculously high number. And someone said that's right then and there shows you that there are going to be more books that are going to be not slabbed eventually. He's a raw guy. Absolutely hates slabs. Absolutely has a good collection. Refuses and won't even. He has bought slabs and cracked them open right in front of me. Nothing big, like 2s and 3s and stuff. But.
Well, that's the thing. If you're not into slabs, you can always crack them open. But if you're, there's guys who like raw and they're old school and they don't want the plastic on their books, and that's cool. Just when you buy it, just crack it out. I mean,
that's exactly what he does.
I love slabs. I've tried everything I have is either slabbed or on its way.
I definitely am working on. For the next couple of times, I'm just going to be working on slabbing. I got some Golden Age stuff we're going to show some, not tonight, but coming up that I'm going to be shipping in, kind of a cross-reference of some other books.
So you don't like to feel it in your hands, like you're journeying the mystery 83?
I already have. I mean, I've already gone there. Now I can always feel up the reprint, That's it. I'm cheating on her. I understand. I'm cheating on my Journey 83 with a reprint, but
Well, I mean, here's how I feel about it. It's
a cheap horse move.
Look, I can buy reprints for Pre-Code Horror, and I do. I've got a whole bunch of books up here to my left where I can read the stories and enjoy the art. But mainly, it's the stuff I collect. The selling point or the main attraction of it for me and most people is the covers, and it's like a high-end Mylar. The slabs are like a high-end Mylar to me. I don't need to feel the paper in my hand. I like to have the nice rock solid case around it. But yeah, it's not that I ignore what's in the books. I usually buy reprints or like this Buster Crab that I got. I'll flip through this. I did a resto check already, but I'll flip through it and read it and enjoy it and go back through and really enjoy the insides. And then I'll get this slabbed and it's a shark cover. There's nothing so fantastic in here that I need to keep it raw. You know what I mean?
I look at. I do everything. Look at. I have slabbed elephant covers all over the place.
Yeah.
I could care on the inside story. Someone says, "What happened with Sheena?" I'm like, "There's no continuous story with this thing. Some broad, she gets in trouble, she stabs her way out." It's typical. It's the same thing every time. But it's fun stuff. I'm gonna say hello to the chat for a little bit. I haven't neglected them completely yet. So first, I'd like to thank the Smurf. How are we doing, Caleb? Nice to see you. Thomas Mimis Explain. How are you, Chris Barrett? Very cool. Thanks for being here. We've got here Comic Books NYC. Always one of my faves right there. We got here Kaylin again. 90. MF Comics, how are you? YouTube is 90. This guy's crazy. Golden Guys is not 90. So there we go. Comic Cat 84, how we doing? Reaper Tate 728, how are you?
Reaper.
Nice, good seeing everybody here. C. Woodard, Newsstand, good seeing him up there. TJ, always great to see the Slab Dragon there. Mr. Gretzky, Who Dat, Rags. Look at this. We've got a whole bunch of mess going on right here and now. Keep going. Rags is again. Reaper Tail. Let's go. Chris Barrett. Keep it up. Hey, everyone. Let's go. All right. I hate that part. All right. Let's show some stuff. So
We
what?
got a train cover right here.
Oh, nice. That's the
Train.
one. Yeah, the Sensation Comics.
Yep. This was one of the first Golden Age books I ever got.
Nice.
It was super cheap. It was like $20. It was like I think around 2011 or something.
Nice.
But yeah.
What
I
number
feel
is
like
that?
26. I feel like most of the main characters nowadays just have a floor that they just don't go below now.
Right.
Yeah, I'll tell you the pre-code horror prices. I did a video today and I sort of mentioned it, but yeah, like there's like a floor that's continually moving up on a lot of these Golden Age categories, and the horror prices are starting to get so out of hand. I did an Instagram post the other day with like 5 or 6 examples that all ended on auctions on Sunday. You know, I almost feel like I'm just going to step back from pre-code horror and go after some other stuff that's not blowing up so much, because I mean, there's like 3.0s are going for like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. There was a 2.5 EC book. It was one of the annuals. It's tough to find, admittedly. It's highly sought after, but it was a 2.5 and it went for like $7,000. I mean, that's just a 2.5. I can't even picture almost any 2.5 in pre-code horror. I can't think of a pre-code horror 2.5 that's worth $7,000 to me. I can't even think of one at all. Anything.
Suspense 3.
Nothing.
Suspense 3.
Well, yeah, but that's not technically a pre-code horror. But yeah, but if I could get the 2.5 of that for $7,000, I'd be all over it. But yeah, I mean, if you go back, like even the Mask comics are not pre-code horror. But I don't think I wouldn't pay $7 for a 2.5 of Mask 1 even. I think that's too much.
What about Crime Suspense? The head holding.
No, I mean a 2.5 of that, I'd be at like 1,800.
Oh yeah.
That's why I have to figure on that one, because I know somebody who just got one for something like a 3. I think they got a 3 for like I think they just paid 22,000 or 2,100 or 1,000 cash, 1,000 trade, but the trade was pretty much geared towards that.
I feel like that one's at 1,000 minimum, no matter what.
Yeah, the thing about that is there's tons of them out there, so it's like the demand is high, but the supply is equally high. There's probably 5 or 6 on eBay right now, literally, for being a huge pre-code horror grail. I bet there's 5 or 6 on eBay right now.
And one of the things this is a great thing to talk about is the basement. Because it exists and it is continuously rising, like we just talked about, is the condition of books that I see now for sale on websites that are usually, 4s are up. They're not snobby sites or anything else, but they're 4s and ups and stuff like that. The CGC website used to be that. You showed up with a 1 of something, they'd be like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
it's the other way they used to be. Nowadays, if you look at what's a lot for sale, and anybody who goes on these things look at them, you see coverless, back thing, whatever book, $30. Now that would have been $2 anywhere, but $30, someone's gonna sit there. I'll take it. The next time you see coverless and everything else, they go up to $40, and these people start going up and up and up. Where it's literally, I've seen the same books with the same defects at the same places, just because nobody wants to get them slabbed. And when it does get slabbed, then we know it's locked up and it's there, and there it goes. But there are books that have gone that route back in the day of the raw and everything else that are now slabbed, that everybody talked about that book that is now like a $4,000-$5,000 book that people were swapping for hundreds of dollars. But it's a pre-code horror, and that's what nowadays it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, I think a lot of these books, you know, some of these books, there's not that many out there, and there you'll see one, it goes around from one person to the next person to the next person, and you see it being posted for sale on Instagram, then it's on eBay, then it'll be on Comic Link, then it's back on Instagram. The price just incrementally goes up, and you can tell it's the same book. You can see the cert number if it's slabbed or whatever. And I think a lot of this price increase is artificial, because there's one book in particular that I lost out at an auction because I wasn't willing to pay that much, and somebody else bought it, and it was somebody I know. And then he tried to sell it, and he's like, I know you're interested in it. Do you want it? And I was like, no, because I know you want to make a profit. Well, he had marked it up from where he bought it, and somebody bought it from him, and they put it on eBay, and it didn't sell. So then they put it on an auction, and it sold for what I thought it should go for. So they lost money, but the person who wanted it now jacked the price way back up and threw it back on eBay, and now they just lowered the price. It's not worth what all these people think it was worth. It was just people keep buying it and stepping it up, but it's really still the same book, and the only people that initially wanted it are still only willing to pay like $800, and these guys are trying to get like $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 out of the books.
And this is
So
a common thing that I've seen more rapidly, where people might hold on to the book for like 40 minutes. I've seen the same book in, like, I've seen some books that people are like, oh, did you see this book? I'm like, third time in a year. Second time, first time it was Comic Link first. Then I saw that exact book on the CGC boards, and then I saw it again on Comic Link later on. In other words, it went to Comic Link, somebody bought it, thought they got it cheap, put it on the CGC boards, realized they didn't, realized that the best place was to get some other idiot to think they're going to get the same thing, and sure as shit it happened.
Or sometimes that means when they get it in hand, there's just something you can't really see on the net that just doesn't sit well with them or whatever. And they might not want to mention it because they're trying to get rid of it, you know.
And this is something that is very hard to tell in the Silver Age because there's so many books. But there is one thing, it's flat out, is that there is a Golden Age, there isn't hundreds and thousands of these books. So you do see some of the same books, same grade, same cert numbers. Even before the slabbing, the slab books, there was some that had some most awkward defect that you always knew was there. Like, you know, like the 3 teeth carved out on the punch 12, you know, the same one. I've seen that punch 12 before. I've seen that same book. Now it's slabbed, I think, at a 5 or a 6 or something, and everybody goes crazy for it. But it's still the one with the ink on the cover, you know. It was always a 4, and now it's 5.
yeah, I think a good way to tell if, first of all, there's markers on these Golden Age books where you can tell the defects. It's like, you know,
Stamps on them. These stamps,
or a rip or a tear. I mean, you can identify them even if they're not slabbed as being the same book. But when you see a book, you sort of got to be familiar with what's out there. But when you see a book that you normally see come up for sale once every 6 months, and it's like clockwork every 6 months or a couple times a year, one will come up. Now the price might steadily increase, but you're still seeing like 2 a year. And then the price gets to a certain point where you're like, this is getting insane. And then all of a sudden you're seeing one every week. That means it's overvalued, because people who are now holding that book want to take profits, and they're throwing them out there and dumping these books to take money off them. That means it's overvalued when there's that huge influx of supply of these books, like Black Cat 50. Last year, I could not find a copy. The only thing I could find was a really low grade that I passed on, and I got lucky with the one I got. But that was an impossible book to find last year. This year, I've seen 12 copies for sale already in the first half of the year. It's insane.
Yeah, I watched 3 transactions at C2E2 involving that book. $4,800 was the one that we passed on, and that ended up getting graded a 3.5 restored. So take that for what you will. I don't know if it was a win or a loss, or it's an even at this point. When we figured it, I figured it was nothing less than a 4. Guaranteed 4 would be close to $4,000 in my opinion. I thought that was $1,000 a point. I am way off now.
I mean, it should be $1,000 a point, but there was a Black Cat 50, a 2.5 restored on eBay, and it sold for over $4,000 for a 2.5 restored.
Makes no sense. Because that wouldn't happen a year ago.
No, I mean, it was, last year when I finally got a copy of Sky, I have been throwing stuff out there and trying to find one, and somebody hit me back like, hey, are you still interested in one? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, how much are you willing to pay for a copy? And I knew I had to be legit to get a chance at this book. So I was like, 1,000 a point. I will do straight up 1,000 a point. At the time I said that was legit top value offer. Like, I wasn't a flipper. Flippers not going to offer. Like, if you're offering that, that's top price.
That's the buy and keep.
Now, if I said that, I'd get laughed out of the room. Like, I want your Black Cat. What do you want? 1,000 a point? They'd be like, no way. What are you kidding?
Yeah.
That was last year. That was like 8 months ago.
Yeah. Well, I kind of, going over that, we went over that transaction that we didn't do for that 3.5 restored because we said that's not where it is. And this was like, it was March, but we didn't know. I mean, I was asking everybody, I'm like, is this really going for crazy right now? And that week was just the crazy auction prices and everything else. 6s, 8s, that 6 went, that 5 went, and it went crazy all over the place. Well, it happens. So.
Well, check this out. I've got, there's one on eBay right now, and this is a Black Cat 50, and it is a 1.5.
All right.
It's a blue label, and the notes say spine of cover completely split and reattached with tape. So a legit 1.5, and it looks good for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's $6,000 or best offer.
Oh,
so it's $6,000 or best offer. I'm watching it because when it sells, I'll go to watch count and find out what it actually sold for and post it on my Instagram and keep people up at the market on that. But I mean, $6,000 for a 1.5. I mean, that's like a $1,200 book to me, maybe $1,500.
Let me introduce our other panelists now. Mr. Paul, the Midwest Comic Man, has joined us.
I'm late. I'm sick,
Hey, Paul.
but I'm here.
He's a trooper today. He's really going all out for us. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. He trooped through. He had a little bit of a fever and everything else, but he wanted to do the show. We were talking about things, and we talked about the recent sales of some crazy pre-code horror books. But one thing somebody mentioned one time with us, and it was, what do you guys, that somebody was turning down books because of certain stamps or writing on the cover. Now, we're going to go through all the different kinds, because I think our books, or even an early Silver Age, are the most colorful artwork sometimes on the book, or just some basic stamps. And,
here's some writing.
Yep. And I mean, it happens. And what do we think about it? And I'm going to talk to Paul, who looks at it all the time when he's looking at books for, restoration checks and stuff like that. And you do some resto checks yourself, DS. And so one of the things is, somebody actually goes, I'd buy that book, but that stamp's right there. I'm like, well, that stamp's kind of a badge of honor. Sometimes, if you ask me, on certain books. Now, just tell me your initial thoughts on what do you think of let's start with the highest level, or the one that is the least damaging, in my opinion, is a well-placed date stamp. Not the watermark crayon, the flat out well-placed.
I love them.
Yeah.
I actually almost prefer them.
Yes. This is the difference. Look at those. She's got a garter on, man. Well-placed, If you get well-placed date stamps, I love that. This is on a
Can you see this one?
Oh, yeah,
She's got a nice one.
Right on
her cape.
Nice. Always good stuff.
Sometimes, though, it's over their face or something. That's not very cool.
Next,
the stamper guy that was having a bad morning or something.
Exactly. So
Screw you, Superman.
Exactly.
Or maybe you just plain didn't like Superman at all.
But he really loved Casper for some reason. Always well-placed Casper fuckers, Anyway, so that's one of the first things is that you get the well-placed date stamp. A lot of times it's provocative or everything, or on my books probably the most there, or on pre-code horror. Is there any date stamps? Kind of, you have a lot of them on pre-code horror, obviously. What do you think on them? Is it well placed? Is okay? And
for me, I mean, I don't mind the date stamps. I like them. There was a copy of a Shock Suspense Story 6 that was out there And somebody on Instagram has it because they posted it, so they must have bought it. And somebody went crazy and like outlined inside the title with the stamps, like lined it up and filled the whole title in with the date stamps. That's a bit much. You know, sometimes you see a lot of date stamps, or you'll have a date stamp and a store stamp, like a Bonnet store stamp. I like that stuff as long as it's not over like the crucial part of art.
So
But-
next to, I was going to say there are a lot of date stamps that are accompanied by what we call the Ben Franklin stamp, or from the various stores, the 5 and dime stores they used to call them, where they would be like pharmacies and do everything else, Woolworths or stuff. There were a lot of stamps on a lot of the Golden Age books that had that, and I kind of think there are certain collections and certain stores that are badges of honor, you know.
Got a Bonnets right here.
Bonnets is nice. That's a good one. Yeah.
I was under the impression that sometimes, though, I mean, does that Bonnet stamp mean that they took this book in secondhand, or did it actually come from the newsstand? I don't know.
I think it's from the new. That's why I always thought all that stuff was newsstand, because they stamped them when they came in, that it was from their store, because
Gotcha.
that was how they did it. And if they were a busier store, like the pharmacy, this one in Kentucky, I think it was, or there's a famous one that's in Cincinnati, Kentucky, area, where everybody was going to in the 50s, where those books were just, that stamp was that like a bus and a train and everything else, where all these books were. And that pharmacy, that entire collection is like a pedigree almost, because they were like the first books that came from the printers. So they were like literally the first ones. So they were like the first from the hub of the wherever they were, whatever the distributors were at the time when it was located, the printing offices. It was great. So there's one pharmacy that's real legendary. I got the name. Yeah, I think it's something Franklin, W.M. Franklin. Yeah, it's been around. I'll have to look that one up, but it's been talked about on a few videos. I know I did one with Don Rosa. We talked about it, and how it's an entire, you know, it's a great pedigree. But those are store stamps, so those are okay. Then you got what I call the water crayon. That's more in Silver Age. I don't see it a lot on Hero or Marvel Mysteries or any of those earlier books. I do see it on a lot of pre-code horror later, like the 51 and up.
You talking like grease pencil mark or what?
Yep, grease pencils. I don't.
I'm having trouble. I can't hear Paul. I don't know if it's me or.
Paul, are you talking?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Did you hear that?
I didn't hear him. So I'm gonna jump out and jump back in, and then maybe that'll
Okay.
work.
So
I haven't seen many grease pencils on Timely's at all.
you won't, yeah, because it's too
Yeah.
Atlas. There are now. There are a lot on the later Atlas runs. Especially the I guess you could call them the horror, the Tales of the Unknown and everything like that.
There's
So-
another well placed
There's
date
Cry
stamp.
of Brio, right, Charles? Look at that.
Yeah, I'm back. I can hear him now. Yeah, that is a well placed one.
Nice.
This is one I've got. Is got a. I don't know. If you
Yeah,
can
I'm
see
still.
it.
I gotta talk to you about that one.
We can talk about it, man. I mean, I'm selling it.
Yeah,
so
I
it's all
know.
yours.
I forgot to call you the other day and say yes. So
All right.
I'm running around. I'll do it right after this show.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that's got a grease pencil mark on it. I don't mind that stuff. I don't even mind. I think when it gets to like writing with like pen writing or some kid wrote on it, that's where collectors start to say like, I don't like it because it's like not as official or something. But I like that even not more, but I mean, that's right in there because that's somebody that owned it, that wrote their name on it, or some kid signed it. I mean, I don't necessarily like when they
There-
draw
there's-
outlines on it.
Okay,
There's one specific example of those that I want to talk about.
but that
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
You want to get to it now or
Yeah.
after? The Lamont Larson collection.
Yep.
I want one of those books someday just because it's traceable to an original owner
yes,
who I read an interview with. I've read his life story where he talks about growing up and talks about how the later books are more damaged because he was getting out of comics and he traded them to his friend and everything. And they had an interview with the guy who used to stamp the books or write the name on the books.
That's
I mean,
cool.
just fascinating stuff. I mean, to me, that's the history of it is as important as the book.
Yeah, and he wrote Larson on all of them, right? With, like,
Either-
the cursive L.
Yeah, they all had either Larson or Lamont Larson, which was his full name.
Yeah. There's another kid. It was a girl, and I think it was Louise, or I can never remember the name. It's not a pedigree.
All the secret
but-
parts, all the love covers, all the Patsy Cline, all that stuff, all the way down.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a lot of like Golden Age stuff that has this one girl's name on it, and there's like
The Priscilla one. That's
might be. I mean, there's probably a couple of them. It's not a pedigree, but when you see that, you always know, oh, I've got one of those books, and other collectors of Golden Age recognize these things. So it sort of has like a pedigree recognition to it. That's cool.
Yeah, there's something about names. I always say, and I do see a book that's like an elephant cover that's hard to find or something like that, and I do see somebody write like Priscilla or something written across it somewhere. And I sit there, I say, sure, I'll take that autographed book. It's signed, I'll take it. There's probably some story behind that, So
One other thing about before we get off the date stamps, though, is they often wrote the date when it was received as well. Like I have on this action,
received that. That's what
you
I
can
have.
see it here.
Yep. This one says received December 49, but it says on September up here. So, and it's one of those RX ones.
Yeah, I noticed people have been, and I don't know how prevalent it is, but I've seen a few, and I'm not really into Silver Age, but there's been some Silver Age books with date stamps that exactly match the publication date on the book. And if you see that, it's usually not legit because it's received usually 3 months before the date that's on the book. So I've seen a few.
You mean it's the cover date?
Yeah, it's the cover date, but it's a
that's
stamp.
weird.
So somebody faked a date stamp, and for like a June of '66 issue, they have June '66 stamped on it. Now, obviously, that's not the right stamp.
Although maybe the kid working there messed up.
It's possible. I mean, if it's being faked, though, that just tells you that there's enough collectors out there that sort of like the date stamp that people would fake it because it actually adds a little value.
Right.
It's like a cool factor to it.
Yeah. Unless it's
What I have found with date stamps is there's no middle ground. You either don't care and like them, or you hate them.
I could care less.
Yeah, I like them. Kachung is asking if someone writes their initials on the cover and pen, they deduct grades. I mean, it affects the grade. They usually don't deduct grades from CGC for date stamps. They usually will not take points away for a date stamp.
They don't store stamp.
But for writing, it hurts the grade. But I've noticed for anything that's up to like a 6 or 6.5 or a 7, it doesn't seem like they took anything away for the writing. But you're not going to get a 9.8 if there's writing on the cover.
Right.
And they will make an exception for like a established pedigree like the Lamont Larsons. They won't deduct for that.
Yeah, and there's sometimes that there's pen that's written over like the title over like or like they bubble letters something here and there. They don't really go after that as much on the Golden Ages as much as you'd think compared to the Silver Age, which they deduct the crap out of it.
Yeah, in my experience, they're easy on a couple things. One is fading, and one is writing. If you have fading on the cover or writing on the cover, CGC goes very easy on those. So if you have a mid-grade book, it seems like that doesn't affect it at all. But if you have staining, that's the other side of the spectrum. They will kill you for it. You could have a perfect book that just has a stain. They kill you on that for staining. So,
Staining sucks.
Well, here's one that has the guy's name, Guy Holycomb Jr.
Nice.
And
I don't really prefer. I don't like these, but made it cheaper, maybe.
And I think the reason they're a little bit more lenient on writing, particularly for Golden Age books, is because people didn't know any better back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were writing their names because they were putting them down somewhere. Or there's a lot. I've seen it. There's a doctor's office one in Chicago. I've heard there's like a pediatric something with all these comics that are on there, and it's not pre-code horror by any means. It's all the Disney stuff. It's pretty funny, but there's a lot of those were done by this doctor, and there's something like they were donated by somebody, and they're just destroyed. They're just destroyed. It's just bad. But I've heard about those doctor books. They're pretty good, to find. if you're into the Disney collecting or the Walter Lantz stuff, that would be like Woody Woodpecker, Andy Panda, and those. That was that whole run. Cool. Let's see. The Larson Pittarita 9-4.
What do you think about? So I've seen some books where it's like an awesome book, early action Superman or something, and then in pen they draw like glasses or like a Hitler mustache on Superman, and it's like
I wish I took pictures of it. The worst. This guy drew all over a Tales Astonish 27, first Ant-Man Hank Pym, and I got it for a price, and I didn't really look carefully at it, and I didn't realize what it ever looked like before. This is years before any Avengers movies or anything else. This was way before, this thing was a popular book or anything else. It wasn't a lot of money, but I sat there and I bought this book, and it was sitting there. I kept looking. I'm like, boy, it looks different. And then all of a sudden, I found another copy of it. And this guy completely drew in ballpoint pen up and down the whole face, where I thought Hank Pym, the guy with the ant attacking him, he's in it, is just worst. And it completely sat there. I got it back from CGC, 1.5 purple label. They didn't know what to do with that one. It's completely drawn over. I mean, the whole pen. The entire character was drawn blue.
I pressed an X-Men #1 for someone in the community. Most of you will know who it is, and a lot of you saw the book, where someone drew 2 eyes on Cyclops. So we're calling it the Biclops cover. So if you ever see a cover of X-Men 1 with Cyclops with 2 eyes, I pressed that book.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about writing is ideally we want to all have perfect high-grade copies of our Grails, but look, like X-Men 1, that's an expensive book, man, and if you can find a book for cheaper because some kid drew eyes on Cyclops, yeah, then you can own that book in your collection. But yeah, I mean, ideally, I guess where the line that crosses for me is when the kid or the previous owner did something artistic on the art. If it's just words or ownership marks or here's my name or they signed it, but when they start outlining the title or coloring in eyes, if it's something that has some sort of artistic or doodling effect to it, that's the type of stuff that bothers me. But just stamps and a sign name, none of that stuff bothers me, as long as it's not like over the direct action or the main character's face or something.
Yeah, one of the things that I hear people talk about is the green label, the qualified grade, and that's what a lot of things do come back as. When it's like written across the front, somebody's name that's more famous or something like that, or sometimes they come back qualified. Well, they said restored on mine, but I think it should have been green. But there is some green label that they brought up, the Jack Kirby ones. Now, I have not been experienced that one, but maybe some of you Marvel, the Timely guys, more or less, because my Jack Kirby stuff would be the Silver Age stuff. But did Jack sign a lot of the interior books of the Golden Age?
There's some out there, and I've seen a Captain America 1 with it got a blue label, but it just says signed Jack Kirby on interior, signed, but at least they didn't ding it for that,
Right.
I saw a first Deathstroke that had Marv Wolfman and George Perez inside the front cover, and the person who I was working on it for sent it in to be slabbed, and I told him to call CGC, and I think you can request a green label as opposed to a blue, and I think he did.
Okay.
Why would you want a green though?
Because the green label, they'll grade it as if that wasn't there, whereas a blue label it'll lower the grade.
That's right.
Yeah, I feel like in the marketplace, depending on the signature, it's not going to matter, but people like the blue better than the green. So if you had the green and you sent it in and said, just don't do anything in this book, just switch the label and make it blue, it's all of a sudden people will like it better. And for signatures, I don't see the difference, man. I mean, if it's signed, if it's got a blue label or a green label or whatever, I mean, it's the same book. And I feel like people are concentrating too much on the color of the labels. When it comes to like a signature for CGC, like who cares? It's the same book. But if you sent the same book in and got them to change it from green to blue, all of a sudden some buyers will be like, now I'm interested. It's the same book.
I think like there's two versions of that. If I want to buy a signature series book, I usually don't buy signature series books. Very rarely. I might trade for one or from somebody that I know, unless if it's a yellow label. But a lot of times I like to do it in person, like something like this, where I get to take it to the person and get it done. Now that on Golden Age, none of us care about signed books. Maybe somewhat of a timely one. If I were to get like Joe Simon or someone like that, who if he was, something like that would be there. But getting your books done. This is a Jim Steranko, but not a Golden Age, just some cool, badass book. But getting something like that in person signed personally to me, I thought it was cool to get a gold label. I've heard that the green label, people are like, oh, you don't know if it's real or not. I'm like, well, the guy, I mean, yeah, well, I know it was real because I was there. And they're like, but that's part of the thing. So if you ever trying to resell it, I guess, what do you care then? If you just want it slabbed, it's green label. Who cares if it's green or gold?
Yeah, if I was going to get one slabbed after signing like that, that's probably the one time I would use CBCS because they have their signature verification.
Yeah, what is that? They do like a different purple. I don't know what color. To be honest with you,
it's red.
They have two. They do a yellow if they witnessed it. They do a red if they didn't witness it, but they verify it. And,
they're owned by Beckett.
Yeah, they're owned by Beckett, so they've been doing signature verification at Beckett for a long time. They just incorporated that.
They had to do my Stan Lee for insurance when it was the only signed book that I had to have insured one time for whatever I did, and I'm like, okay, it's just it's an old Spider-Man 15 or 16 signed, but I had to get it verified, and the only people that were doing it back then was Beckett.
Yeah, and what Evan's saying,
baseball, they were doing baseball stuff.
I think CGC will eventually start verifying signatures because, they've got their foot on the throat of CBCS, and if they start verifying signatures, I mean, that takes away what little breath CBCS has left to effectively compete with CGC.
Yeah,
so,
like I said, that's literally right now probably the only reason I would ever use CBCS, and if they take that away.
I know, because here's the thing about green labels. People are like, oh, there's so many Stan Lee fake signatures. I'm like, how the hell can there be? Why would you, Stan signed
it's
everything.
not hard to get a Stan Lee signature. Why would you fake it? I mean, I don't think there's
and then the market, and that's the market's over saturated with everything, if you ask me. But then, somebody was like, I got the Bernie Wrights in here, which was a gold label, which are rare because, I don't know why, but there aren't that many of them. But I traded away that, what was that? That first Carnage. ASM 361.
361.
361 for that, yeah. I got a good deal. 9.6. Abigail Arcane. Shout out Swamp Thing. Great show. Watch Thursday on Chemical. We're going to talk about Swamp Thing. So, I don't know. Did anybody watch Swamp Thing? I'll just throw it out there right now.
No, but I'm working from home sick this week, so I'll probably take the whole damn thing. And
just throwing that out there. I didn't want to break up the Golden. It's kind of good.
Is that on the DC channel thing?
Yeah, the DC.
Yeah. What? All right. So I want to watch it. I'm out of the loop, man, and I don't. I have no idea what's going on in the world most of the time. I don't even know. Where do I look to go watch this? Is it on my TV somewhere?
These days, these Golden Age guys. What are our kids up to?
Wait, how do I find this Swamp Thing to watch? Where do I go?
Okay, you have to go to the DC Unlimited, I think it is.
What is that though? Is that a channel on my TV? Is it an app?
No, it's an app.
I don't know what you're talking about.
it's an app. If you have something like if you have a Roku box or a
I have
I don't know what that is either.
Amazon, you can get it added to that.
Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
Yep.
I have Amazon Prime. I can find it on there.
Yeah, you can get on there.
All right.
The DC app, you can't get Swamp Thing.
Okay.
But you can also get it on your PC too.
Good luck, DS.
Thanks. I don't feel like digging too hard for it, but I might.
Good origin beginning. It's a good origin.
I do like the Swamp Thing, so that interests me. So
Yeah.
And James Wan is doing it, so it's definitely gonna have a horror edge.
James Wan. So yeah.
yeah. So that'll be real cool then. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I mean, I haven't even watched Captain Marvel because I still can't rent it. As soon as I can rent it, I'll watch that.
Mhm.
And Endgame, I'll probably purchase that because I really want to see it.
Right.
But I haven't even seen Endgame yet. I'm not up on this stuff,
Oh,
man. When stuff comes on my TV or Netflix or Amazon Prime, I'll watch it. That's basically it.
I agree. I get out to the movies just to go see those. So my wife's watching Curb Your Enthusiasm right now, religiously again. It's a good show. But
Yeah, best comedy ever right there.
yeah. A lot of people say. I mean, I was a Seinfeld guy, so this is right up my alley. It's great. But
I'd like to see him bartering at a Comic-Con with the dealer. That'd be pretty funny.
Well, they have cut out for this. People all over the place. What the hell is this?
Yeah, I heard they're doing a new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. They're going
Oh
to
yeah.
be doing a new season.
They debuted at a Comic-Con. Get the hell out of here with this.
I'll show you my this homemade book that I made for myself
Check out this.
for
is
Golden Age.
cool.
All right, so I'm sure you guys know there's a site on the net, Mike's Amazing Comics, I think it's called, and he has a news. There's like a newsstand section of it, and you can put in a date published, and you can go through every month of every year, and it shows all the comics and every date of its actual published date, not the date that's on the cover. Like, so I've actually like printed out each month from like 1939 to like 1945, but it's real fun to like, you're like, oh, let's see, when was Detective 27, and then you can like, look around and see what other comics came out that month, what came out before, other things. We're always debating on the CGC forums, like, well, what's the first Nazi cover, or
Oh yeah, that was
hero this or that or whatever. And
yeah. We always do this is a good. What you've done is stop fights probably because there's so many. There's
Yeah.
guys that say the first appearance of this and the comic, first appearance of that. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things.
Yeah, I actually use that site and I did a video about it because one of my non-Golden Age projects is I put in the month I was born and I want to get every book that came out the month I was born.
that's cool.
I did that. That's what I did. Oh, only up to every book up to how old I am. I have 45 books of the month and year I was born. I've shown that. I've got some big ones in there too. I got that freaking first Howard the Duck.
I think there's only two big ones in
I got
the
first.
month that I was born. I know one is Night Nurse #1, and I think Swamp Thing #1.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I think I've got like X-Men 95, but I've also got Champions #1 and Inhumans #1.
Oh yeah,
That's pretty cool. But I just missed X-Men 94. I got X-Men 95.
nice. I did I guess those are my two big Marvel ones. My DC ones, there's a pretty cool Flash. Oh, Swamp Thing 7.
Now, are you talking about release date or on the cover?
Release date.
Yeah, that's cool.
On the cover, yes.
I also made this mistake of putting my parents' birth months in there once and said no.
Yeah, I was.
It was like Superman #2, and
Well, get away. Actual birth date is the same as the first time Superman appeared in the news and ever. Same date, same exact date. Born month year. Mom's 81 years old. Exactly.
That's cool.
April 18th. Yeah.
Well, that's where you want to get the date stamp.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That's crazy. But there's a book. My friend told me to pick up one for his thing, and he's like right around my age. I'm like, I'll give you this. He's a priest. I'm sending him the son to Satan. Hey, enjoy this one, Padre. Enjoy this one, Rabbi. Just a friend. He's the guy who was a kid we all grew up with that became a priest. Whatever. Anyway, so where were we going with this?
Yeah, so I've never been on that Mike's Amazing.
Oh yeah, you'll like that.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it's real cool. I never knew about this. Yeah, I'm gonna check this out. It looks like the first book it has on there is like April of 1933, and it's.
I mean,
he's
there's
on parade.
mistakes, but he corrects them, and it's gotten a lot better.
You email them?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
and it's cool. You could sort by publisher and all this. Searching on it is not the greatest, but I feel like it's that way for lots of sites.
It's better than this. The one that's called Cover Browser.
Mm.
That's
That
not
one's good, but it's missing a lot of Golden Age titles.
it's missing a lot. Cover Browser it's got a good search engine. It's pretty broad. So if you put down like wolf cover or something, it'll have wolf covers, but it does everything from the Golden Age to, you'll have werewolf, and then eventually it'll be way too much.
When I'm researching covers, I usually go on My Comic Shop, and they pretty much have covers for almost everything. So I do a lot of my research on My Comic Shop, and they also have a little link you can click to see the census numbers, and they usually have a lot of info about the book. They have page counts a lot of times, and they have the stories in there, who did the story and the art for each story, and they always have the cover artist usually if it's known. So My Comic Shop is a really good resource. I'm on that every day.
I prefer the Grand Comic Database for page counts, just because they write descriptions for well, maybe Comic Shop does that now, but Grand Comic Database, they have this page they even write down what the ad is for the page.
Yeah, I like the Grand Comic Database, especially because when it breaks down the book with the 4 story parts, it breaks down each, and it's got the in between, which a lot of the crime ones have the FBI, they do a profile on one of the 10 most wanted people, and sometimes it's real famous people from back then.
Oh, that's cool.
Famous criminals that became famous later on. It's crazy. So I was like, oh shit, creepy stuff. That's a lot of that's in Lawbreakers Always Lose. Crime Fighters has a lot of that. Not the Crime Doesn't Pay, because that's later on. This is stuff from 1948, 1949, 1950. Just early Atlas was one of the ones that did that. It was pretty good. It's like a FBI ad in there. That and Grand Comic Database tells you all that stuff.
Yeah, I also use Comic Books Plus. They don't have everything, but when they have a book, they have the page count, and they have a digital copy of each page, so you can actually flip through the raw and compare it to the pages they have.
Oh, that's cool.
I have seen that, and they're getting a lot more books recently. There's some stuff on there I was able to get where I could zoom in and see when somebody had a Golden Age book where they had the original art. It was a Russ Heath original art. Everybody, was pretty ridiculous, and it was recently just out there on, I think, Comic Link or Comic Connect has been out there, and zoomed in on it, and I wanted to see it because I said, well, it didn't really, it doesn't really give a good zoom in enough where I can do it, but I was able to get into that through the other page, screenshot it, zoom way in there, and see where the Russ Heath stuff was. So it was pretty good. It's nice that they would that website does that pretty good.
Check this out. So we got May 38. This is when Action 1 came out. There's only 17 books. And then a year later, still not that many. Not even double. But then 1 year later, May 1940, you get all these.
Nice.
And that. So it kind of goes to show, and I've been finding that some of the pre-1940 books are just a real pain to find.
Yeah.
But I could see maybe, because they just didn't make that many, I guess, perhaps.
Paul, what do you got? And any sites you use besides
all of the above?
I was trying to think of something else that reminded me. Comics something. I use the little Marvel things here and there, but if you're an Atlas fan, there's that atlassales.com, which is a great site. I don't know if it works for Timely as well. It might. It does.
What is it?
I think it's atlassales.com. That's really good. You'd love it, yeah.
For looking at covers, though, I usually go for Heritage because they got the nicest, biggest scans for free.
Yeah, Heritage has good scans, definitely.
Heritage is good. Yeah. Very cool. Well, let's see. Paul uses a Ouija board. Nice. So, shout out to Comic Core Chad. Thanks a lot for joining us here, Chad. Well, not in here because we don't really want you in here. That's all right. We're glad to have you in the chat. Smurf gets seen again. So that's pretty much the show for this week, guys. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Tell us what you want to learn, or sit there. We'll always bring somebody on if you guys ask us about it. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys in the crowd to start telling us what you want to do. You control the show.
I had one question for you guys. I don't know if it was in the chat or what, but I feel like someone said that he has seen CGC grade some thinner pulps.
Oh,
But I have not seen that, but I just wondered if you guys.
wow, that would be something nice.
That would be cool.
Oh,
I don't know.
how big is your pulp, buddy?
What, you mean that the Platinum Age one?
Yeah,
That's comic book size.
What Platinum Age book do you have?
Where'd it go?
it came with a CD.
Yeah, I thought that was like, damn, you got ripped off, man. They didn't have CDs back then.
Or did they? From the future.
Facsimile cover.
Check it out. It's ridiculous. What year?
Oh, that's cool.
19.
Bought sticks.
Yeah, I think it is 1906. And it was 1 penny.
Wow.
Does it say it on the cover, 1 cent?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, no, it says 1 penny.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Show it up again.
Show it. Don't rip it.
Covers
There
are
it is. Look at that. Dick.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that before, but I don't know that I've ever seen one for sale or even seen that many.
Yeah, this is number 87. So
Oh, so
Wow.
that's quite a long run for that book then.
87, man.
Yeah, I want to try to get some books from I want to get a few books that predate Action 1. And I was talking to Comic Books NYC about this the other day. And I want to get, because I'm into sci-fi and horror, I want to get the first Buck Rogers in comics, and I want to get the first Flash Gordon in comics, just because those are really huge sci-fi characters in history, and they predate Action 1. So, you got King Comics 1 for Flash Gordon, and that's like 1936. And then I think Famous Funnies 3 is 1935.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's 1935, maybe 1934. But then there's a Buck Rogers giveaway that predates that. It was a Kellogg giveaway from 1933.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything that old. The oldest thing I have 2 books from 1940, and I think that's it, which is pretty good. But I would like to get something pre-action, sci-fi related, just, I think it'd be cool to own.
There's some really old school Tarzan stuff I've seen from like the 20s and 30s that I've been eyeing at a few places here and there. Just like they're strips though. They're like page ads. They're not books. They're strips and they're like 8 panels going right down like this on a page in a newspaper. So there's a boxing one too. I forget the fighter's name. I just wanted to take a look at the artwork. But
I got to check out a real nice one from Terry's Comics at a con a few years ago. I can't remember. It's like New Adventure 26 or something like that. But it's got like an Indian and a big eagle on the cover or something. But on the front cover, on the inside, is a big ad for Action 1. That was pretty cool to see.
Nice.
wow.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really hard to find.
TJ, thank you very much. He's the one who brought up the fact that they were doing thinner pulps now.
Oh, cool.
I wonder what, because I mean, this magazine, that's my first ever magazine size slab. Because I don't have I guess there's one book I'm supposed to get that I will put out. And this is the first one I've ever, this is big, man. It's kind of obtrusive big.
Yeah.
But the pulp size, would it be, how would they slab it? A little bit, is it about this size? Some of those pulps are bigger.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not doubting what TJ's saying, obviously.
No, I know.
If it comes to slabbing, he knows what he's talking about. But there's a lot of things that when you get back in that era, they slab magazines that, to me, if I saw it for sale, I would buy it as a pulp because the cover art and the style of paper. But I think they're counting as a magazine I'm not sure where they're drawing the line as far as what they slab, because I feel like if it fits in a slab, they should slab it. And pulps are not so
Yeah.
thick that they wouldn't
Movie
fit.
posters,
They're a
right?
little thick. I put my this Marvel one in
Is it
an
movie?
old slab I have,
Oh, nice.
and it's tight.
Yeah, but that's a pulp and it fits, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
feel like
not
they could do
thicker than magazines that they're slabbing. They're slabbing.
I think they don't
magazines.
want to. They don't want to grade that though. It would take forever.
Well, and I think there's got to be different grading criteria. You can't grade a pulp the same way you grade a comic. There's some things that are more acceptable as far as defects on pulps as they are in comics. They're all square bound. It's different type of paper. There's no staples. Trimming is far more prevalent in pulps. The edges overhang on all of them, and there's always tattered edges. You can't grade it the same as a comic. So I mean, a 5.0 pulp is going to look worse around the edges than a 5.0 comic. But in the grand scheme of pulps, that will be an average mid-grade pulp, but it will look worse than a 5.0 comic by a long shot. So I don't think they can grade them the same. I think that maybe is what's holding them back, coming up with the grading criteria, because you can't just do it the same as comics. They're totally different.
TJ
They-
just put out. TJ just showed me on here on my phone. I'll show you a pulp from 1915 September, New Buffalo Bill Weekly.
Awesome.
It's in a magazine size. Here's a picture of it. And that's a pretty good shot right there. It's a beautiful 5.0.
Yeah, see, but I think CGC is considering that a magazine, which is why they're slabbing it, even though I agree that's a pulp. But that's what I'm saying. When you get back to that era, is it a magazine or is it a pulp?
And here's one now.
There's so much variation in the pulps. I mean, you got some that are
That's
3/4 of an inch thick.
That's
You know,
awesome.
Right.
I have one here
That's
that
larger though. Yeah.
I have one here that's a Tip Top Weekly. Price is 5 cents. This is from 1899. So 1899. Tip Top Weekly.
Yeah, but it's wide. It's magazine size.
Magazine size for sure.
I think DS is right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they-
when you get back,
It's kind of dumb. Why would that hold them back?
I think the limitation is more the thickness than anything else.
Yeah, you're probably right.
yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
you're probably right, but I think there's more to it, because I'll tell you, some of the slabs I have that have comics in them are thick enough to accommodate a pulp. I think. I really don't think that.
Yeah, they do. They
I mean, there's some Golden Age books that are pretty thick. 64 pages on a
right.
Golden Age book is.
Where's my?
Yeah, I mean, I put
That's-
all my Marvels in them.
Yeah, this one is.
They all fit just fine.
Or even like the square bound Silver
They're
Surfer
tight, you know,
series.
but whatever.
Yeah, like a square-bound comics from the Bronze Age or Silver Age square.
Yeah,
bound.
yeah,
That stuff is pretty
Silver
thick. Like there's even some more modern, like 120-page extravaganza square-bound thing, and they're slabbing that because it's a comic. So they have different wide widths of slabs. I don't know,
Yeah, and
it's-
you know, 5 million slabs, whatever, they can afford to make a new pulp slab.
Yeah, I mean, probably the thickness is part of it, but I also think it's part of the grading, because you can't. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with me, if you've dealt enough with pulps to know what I'm talking about, but there's totally different criteria. You can't grade it the same as a comic. I mean, it's just. I think the grading criteria would have to be fully developed in a different way.
The jumbo one I did not. Who was else? I was going for that jumbo one. My buddy. It's high. It went pretty good. It was just jumbos 1, 2 can never be slabbed. They're way too big. They're
Even
like
for a magazine size?
yeah. Oh yeah.
They're almost treasury size.
Yeah. They're actually they're are they
Or bigger than that or something.
I think they're wider this way than a treasury, but a little bit smaller. Yeah, they're wider than you think. They're bigger than magazines. They can't be slabbed. Jumbo 1, Jumbo 2. I think it goes to Jumbo. I think Jumbo 3 was smaller, but they were jumbo books. I mean, they had like 100 pages. 90 stories. Different.
Well, I mean, that's a weak excuse from CGC then, because all you have to do is get a just slightly different, thicker cover of plastic holder. I mean, you just get a different dimension plastic holder. That's not that hard. They have tons of different sizes already.
And that's Jack Kirby's first work, by the way.
Yeah, Jumbo one. I could have got one last year, but it was too
One right
beat
now,
up.
one that was out there. That's the thing. It's one of those books that comes up often enough. That's a good point, Evan. The Comic Link had it out there, and the book comes up a bit. I've seen it a few times over the last couple of years. I've seen it change hands, and it's not really one of my favorite books out there. It'd be a nice one to have because Jack Kirby. I do like Jack Kirby, Thor for crying out loud, and Silver Surfer. So he's up there. Loki. So I gotta obviously love to get his first work, but it's one of those that I've been kind of. What kind of grade am I looking for? Is what I'm going to say. It's one of those that I have to search to get a 4 in, or is the harder grade the 7 or higher? Again, we have no idea because it's whether or not do you want one in a if we have no idea, we can't grade it. So it's more or less what kind of condition do you want it in, and knowing you can't slab it.
Pretty hard to find, at least for, because when I saw the opportunity to buy one, I was looking up any previous sales, and it was pretty tough to find any. I mean, there was some, but it was tough to get a good price.
Yeah, he did get a good price for it though. The guy who sold it. Congrats to him. The Jumbo.
Where did he sell it?
I have to look that up. The one of the thing that's kind of crazy is the Jumbo 2. Was it a couple of weeks ago? That was a 9.4. Did you guys see that one? A couple of weeks ago. Not Jumbo 2. It was Jumbo 9. Jumbo 9. It was one of the first ones that was slab. It was a 9.4, and I forget where it was that it sold, and it was like the second highest I've ever seen a fiction house book go for. Any fiction house.
Evan makes a good point. He said CGC would invest thousands on production of new cases, greater training, etc. The internet would rejoice, and all 15 pulp collectors would submit their books.
You know why? He's exactly right. But within a year of that, there will be far more than 15 pulp collectors because now people can buy slab copies.
It's going to be like
pulps would blow up if you could get CGC.
They would.
Well, here's
because it's the cover anyway.
Exactly what you need to do. It's the cover that they're going to care about, right?
Yeah.
So you go and you get these freaking modern variants that are out there. You start marketing it right now if you're not your fool. You start making one variant that's an homage to a pulp book, and then you freaking pay CGC to get that done, and you'll get an influx. So people will bypass the silver, fly over gold, and go right to platinum age and get some pulps.
I would say 99% of the time it's the cover, unless it's got something original by H.P. Lovecraft or Robert A. Howard.
Yeah.
Cover swipes back and forth. Almost every cover swipe from the pulp age is used in the golden age.
Burroughs.
All of them. Maybe not timely and stuff, but much more in the fiction house and in the pre-code horror stuff is for sure.
Pulps do have inside, which is different than comics. Comics have a lot of great art inside. Obviously, they're well known. It's art cover to cover, but pulps have mostly fiction stories, but they have panels of sketches in there and drawings that are phenomenal. So would I, that would be an area where I don't know that I would want to get all of my pulps slabbed, but I would certainly like to have CGC. I'd like to have the option, but I enjoy cracking open my pulps and going through. There's a lot of really cool illustrations in them by some big names, like Block or Virgil Finlay or something that, and there's, some older ones in the 50s that have Schomburg illustrations in them. It's not only the cover for me, but I would like to have the option of getting them slabbed, and that would certainly bring more markers.
Wasn't Lee Elias one of those painters of the pulps?
Yeah, he might have. I'm not familiar with any Lee Elias pulp stuff, but once it gets past 1945 or 44, they start using different paper, and it's not the same paper, and it's not technically a pulp anymore, but really the best pulps are the 1930s. If you're going after pulps, you're going after 1930s. When you get into the 40s, it depends how good they are. And then when you get to the 50s, I mean, they're a dime a dozen. They're not expensive no matter how cool they are. And I have a couple from the 50s, but if any of these pre-code horror guys did pulps, it was probably in the 50s. Schomburg did some in the 50s, and I don't really research them that much from the 50s, and I don't think they're very sought after for the pulps. So they could be plenty. I just don't know about it.
I mean, there's pulp style covers, obviously, that are desirable, but
this is a really cool book. It's called The Secret History of Marvel Comics, and it shows a lot of the interior pulp. This is a crazy Alex Schomburg interior. So yeah, he
Get some.
drew some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's in the pulp.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Alex Schomburg, and he even signed it too. Sometimes they don't sign them, but yeah, he did a lot of this. That's from Uncanny Tales, number 6. Always overpriced on eBay. By the same 2 pulp guys. Yeah, like look at that. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we have like Warren Publishing brought that back. You know, that's what they did
Yeah.
with Creepy and Eerie, and those are my favorites right there. And you have the Savage Swords of Conan's and stuff like that from Marvel. Curtis Publishing, remember Curtis Publishing for sure. You had a lot of that in Curtis with Monsters Unleashed and Conan and Savage Sword. The earlier stuff in the 50s, the pulp stuff, the Wally Wood stuff, that they had the sci-fi stuff. Yeah, they had a lot of cool artwork in there. That's one of the cool things. It's tough. You bring up a good point. I mean, the best parts of the book sometimes is the cover, sometimes it's the inside. Like you find something like that right there with Schomburg about sacrificing people. That's great shit, man.
Yeah, I think when you get into the 50s, there's a lot more like sci-fi sort of covers in the 50s. The 40s has some really cool stuff, robots and monsters. And when you get into the 30s, it's pre-World War II. There's a lot of these areas where were frontiers in science that weren't explored, like outer space and even like the jungle or the Orient. They were very exotic and they weren't well known. And in the 30s, all of those were exploited in the artwork in a fantastical nature that the 30s pulp artwork is just off the chain, man. That stuff blows away a lot of Golden Age comic book covers. And people don't even know it's out there. And it's just some of the most phenomenal, just off the wall, crazy fantasy stuff ever in art.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, Evan's asking a question. How many art panels does it take before a pulp crosses into a comic? Well, I mean, pulps basically are just written stories. It's like a novelette. It's just got collections of short stories. But every couple pages, there's an illustration, but it's not an illustrated book. It's mostly words in there with some illustrated panels here and there throughout the book. And there's ads too. And it's all black and white inside a pulp. None of it's in color, so it's completely different than a comic. But the illustrations that appear in the pulps are often really good. They're just black and white, and they're sporadic throughout the pulp. They're not continuous through any story. Like each story probably has one big drawing and like a small drawing somewhere in the story. But
Lou was saying, got a message from CGC that we cannot grade pulp magazines. We are looking into be able to grade pulp magazines in the future, but as of right now, we cannot grade them. We just got that email yesterday. Well, sorry to hear that, Lou. And one of the things I think we discussed that I think the thin ones that maybe not qualify 100% as pulps from the 15 there, but right, you're right. Yeah, that's what we were thinking right there. They're just some reason, but if they're looking into it, that's good. So, but yeah, Planet Stories too. Yeah, good girl art, definitely. Planet Stories is good. Who did a lot of that? That's some more Wally. There's some good artwork in there. That's one of the things about the pulps that you bring up. That's why in the 70s, what I kind of there was those convention books that I collect. I've shown a few of them here, and I don't have them now. But convention books of various conventions that were going on in the 60s and 70s. Inside there are all stories and arts, and there's like stuff from like the Harvard Crimpers thing where it's a Tarzan article, and there's different things being.
That's cool.
Hang on, a guy just sent me something crazy. Let me see. Somebody found something pretty good.
Here, I'll show you. This is a cool diagram timeline. Can you see that at all? Yep. So this is Goodman's. So he did all Time Lead and Marvel he published, and this is 1933. The blue is the pulps.
Okay.
How many he published, and then you could see even in 1944, the red is the comics. How many they made monthly or yearly, and still barely anything. And then boom, all the way here, mid 50s.
Wow.
And then after the comic code, boom.
The Atlas implosion.
Yep. And then even 1962 or 3 probably, right when Spider-Man and all that. Still not that many. Pretty small.
Yeah.
But I find that stuff always fun.
Yeah, so anybody who's on Instagram, which is probably most people at this point, there's an account I follow, and the name of it is Vintage Pulps, and it's one word, Vintage Pulps. And they show, basically all their posts are interior illustrations from Pulps. And,
Oh, cool.
you know, it's a really cool feed to check out because they hardly ever do covers. They mostly do interior illustrations. And you can see the illustrations inside the Pulps are phenomenal. So yeah, there is a lot of cool stuff inside the Pulps that are very, nice surprises to find when you buy a pulp for the cover and you're flipping through it and you find something cool inside by Virgil Finley, and it's just an off-the-wall sci-fi cover with a monster, or sci-fi drawing with a monster or something.
Oh yeah, he's got some great stuff.
Oh, look at that.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's one. This is from an issue of Fantastic Adventures, and it's just something random, but
yeah,
he's
that's
on the
awesome.
skeleton on the radio trying to call whoever, and it's like an apocalyptic sort of scene.
That's cool.
That's inside a pulp. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Margaret Brundage did a bunch of great pulp covers too.
Yeah, her Weird Tales stuff is.
That's one that
and I just can't bring myself to spend the hundreds for them, which is really cheap compared to comics. But some of the good ones are only a couple $100. I just can't bring myself to do it.
And
Here's a Frankenstein one.
you also get lots of awesome ads like this foot one.
Oh, you always get the foot. You always get something strange with the. It was one. There was something astonishing, something that had an ad in there. I forget what it was. It was like, do you have the bad back? Try this oil or whatever it was, and you get this woman sitting here carrying her laundry, drinking the oil. I'm like, what the hell is she? What oil is she going?
It's funny when the ads are like for women, and it's like, you're too skinny, like if you're too skinny, try this or whatever. It's like the times have really changed on that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the times are changing. I think we got John Byrne. Might as well show a sexy cover on it. John Byrne, everybody. John Byrne. Love this book. I know it's echoed.
Oh yeah.
That book. So part of my other.
Did you ever meet him?
Yeah.
Was he nice or not?
I don't remember. I was just getting a sign, something. It wasn't like somebody like I remember, like Steranko tells a story or Claremont. Somebody said Byrne talks a ton too. Well, that C2E2 was he there? That C2E2 Paul? I don't remember.
Who, Byrne?
Yeah.
No.
He was somewhere recently. He's been on a con. I know somebody else find out.
Is he at KC maybe?
No, I wasn't at KC. No, KC doesn't have the big ones they had there with Steranko, Starlin, Neil, stuff like that. So I'm going to I heard the Minnesota con that just ended was a really good Golden Age con. And I'm going to the one in October. They said the spring one's better, but now they're thinking the October one's going to be just as good. So I'll be heading up to that one. I had a guy scout there, and he said there's a ton of stuff. He goes, but these guys, some of them know their stuff, some of them don't. Some of them are really gouging on it. There's some Captain America that has a mention of a guy named Spider-Man. You know about this?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, some spider something. Somebody's going to know this. There is something right there where in the Captain America, it's a wartime one. I know that. I know for a fact it's wartime. So it's a wartime Captain America that mentions a spider something there. So
I've been thinking of maybe going to that one, so maybe we'll hook up and go to that one.
yeah, that's a good one for sure. Food sucks, and nobody really has any beer.
Do you guys usually get food or drink during cons? Is there like?
I drink during. Yeah.
CTV actually had some good food at the con.
Oh yeah, okay. I
always
in the last 20 years, and it was Baltimore last year, and I didn't eat the whole time I was in the con. But
yeah, I always go until I'm like, holy crap, I didn't eat anything in like 12 hours or something.
I don't really have to sit down and have a meal or anything else. I usually drink, but I do drink. I mean, I don't go crazy. At night, I do.
That's not what I heard.
Oh yeah, I do. I'm not gonna calm down.
well, I'll be at Heroes Con, which opens next Friday.
I heard that. That's a great con. That's Charlotte, right?
Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'll be there, and like I said, I've been to one real con is Baltimore last year. So I heard it's good. I heard it's comic centered, and it has a lot of Golden Age and some big dealers. So yeah, it should be fun. I don't have any money left though, but
A lot of dealers going. So I think.
I'm going to give you a want list.
Yeah.
yeah, shoot me. So give me 1 or 2 books you're looking for, and if I find them, I'll let you know.
You probably have one. Yeah.
When is it? Next weekend?
Yeah, it's the 14th, 15th, and 16th. So I think that's next Friday, right? Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Heroes Con, and then San Diego's more of a media thing anyway.
Yeah.
I'll be doing Michigan in August. That'll be a fun one. That should be a good con.
I
Are
might
you gonna
actually
get
go.
Are you going to get a press badge?
I
Yeah.
will. I had one for Denver, and I
Well, we
couldn't-
got to get DS a press badge
yeah.
for Heroes.
Jeez,
And then what? I can walk around and film
It's so
stuff.
late now. They
No,
usually
you just got to get in early.
no.
Just any badge that gets you in early. So
Well,
that
I
you can
think
get
I
in
have.
there.
I think I might have a hookup to be able to get in early. So I think
Nice.
I'm already.
Yeah. Make sure you do that.
yeah,
So much is gone.
suck.
Yeah. So Caleb's got a good pick. He wants a Cowpuncher #2 and a 4-hour lower.
Saw one, Caleb.
That's a good book.
The CCGC board. That's the one with the guy dragging her by the horse. Hang on. Puncher 2. Big old.
Cowpuncher.
See that one. Puncher 2.
Yeah, that's a fairly well-known GGA title in
Yeah.
the Golden Age.
Would a title of that name fly today?
Green
It would
dress.
probably mean something completely different.
Yeah, comic.
But I'm thinking about going to Pulp Fest, which is like
Ooh.
the San Diego Comic Con of pulps. I guess San
That's
Diego's
awesome.
is that the biggest con we have for comics? But it's the big pulp con, and I think it moves around to different places each year. And this year it's in Pittsburgh, so pretty
Okay.
close to us. If I don't know that I'm going to go buy anything, but I've never been to a place that had a lot of pulps.
Oh man, you're gonna come back and start selling all your comics.
Well, I mean, if the prices keep going up, I will sell my comics, and I'll get a couple $100,000 or some ridiculous amount out of these things, and then I will buy pulps. And then when CGC starts grading them, I'll sell all those, and then
Yeah.
buy the comics back when they get cheap again. So I don't know.
Before you know it, you'll have a whole wall full of Turok ones.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I could sell all my comics and get an all-story one. You know what I mean? Or
Ooh,
yeah,
yes.
or Weird Tales 1 or something would be cool too. Something like that.
Looked at somebody said that that recently there's some new highest graded ever for Sensational 8. Is that no, not Sensational 8? All Star 8. Is that first Wonder Woman?
First Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new highest grade would just happened or something. So I don't know what it was, but
I don't know. All I ever see are
I heard it was handed
3s,
to
4s, 5s. I've never seen anything higher than that.
I heard it was handed to CGC at the one in Orlando that just happened. The one Caleb was at MegaCon. It was handed to the CGC people there. They graded it because it was express or whatever, and then they just got it back this week, so that would make sense. And apparently they announced the grade. I saw it on Instagram somewhere. It's ridiculous.
What, like a 9 point something? You're saying?
Oh yeah. I think it was either 9.6 or I think it was a 9.6. Yeah, new highest grade ever. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I know that Gator knew about it because he was talking about it one time. Said it's the hardest book to see. He goes, he's heard about it. It's been in this guy's collection in Florida forever, and he's going to drop it on the market. He's got like a ton of he has like 7 comic books, and it's all that kind of stuff.
Do you guys know the seller on eBay, Comic Mylars?
Yeah.
You ever seen it? He's got like 4 or 5 Submariner Comics #1s now up there, and he just like jacks the price way up, and he just wants to sit on them.
I was going to send you a link to one of them, but the prices were so high, I figured, what's the point of sending you the link? Because you're going to.
You want which not the first appearance of Submariner or Submariner?
Just his comic #1, the first one. I mean, it's a cool book, but I think this guy is trying to like monopolize them or something.
What year was Sub 1? 41?
Yeah. Like, so I don't. Can you see this? Is it too hard to see that with the glare?
Sometimes the glare comes down.
But he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, 5 of them. There's a 5th one. Jeez. If you got a lot of money, you could do that, I guess. But apparently, the people I read something about on CGC forums, and they said he doesn't really negotiate, and he just has the cash he'll just sit on them forever, and he puts them up for what he thinks they're worth, and he'll just sit on it forever.
Well, you know what? There's people there's people that corner the market on. There's those guys that corner the market on those the suspense, the 2 highest graded of the punches, the 2 highest graded of those 2 highest graded, they all have them. They all swap them all back and forth or whatever they do, and they control the market.
The comic Mylars, he's got a couple All-Star 8s, he's got several AF 15s, and he's got a full set of Superman 1 through 10. Now, the first couple are restored, but he's still got a 1 through 10 set on there.
I've seen this collection. So.
Another guy is Pristine Comics. They have a lot.
He's got the other bunch of Submariner ones.
Pristine Comics has the Larson copy.
Oh man!
Oh, Submariner 1, nice.
They're selling it for $125,000. It's a 9.0.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that price is.
That's not crazy.
That's not outrageous, really.
Yeah, I think that's
Cap 1. Imagine what a Cap 1 9.0 would go for. A 7.0 restored went for $32,000, and that was a bargain if you ask me. That's a $50,000 book. That's a $50,000 book easily in my opinion.
Wasn't there a nice 7.0 or something going now or something? There's one coming up that's nice, I feel like.
Was that the Heritage one or the one on the mid-June comic one?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a mid-June.
I kind of just block out those mega high grade books because that's what.
And that Larson copy that's a 9.0 is the old label, so it might even get a higher grade now.
Oh
yeah, and it probably has never been pressed, and the grading was a little harsher back then. Is the rumor? I don't know if that's true, but yeah, it could be higher. Yeah, for sure.
The guy lives in San Jose, and he's the fixer. He's not the owner. He's like the Paul, like the presser and stuff like that. So nice.
Well, I want to ask you guys some. So recently, I've seen like some guys with super high grade books on Instagram. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but you've seen them. They're like, not everything's 9s and stuff. But I've seen tons of like pre-code horror books on those, and I think one of them, he said he bought Kirk Hammett's collection.
Yeah, you're probably talking about the Black Cat collection, Gabe.
Yeah. But like, so when those guys show all that, does that make you guys want to buy the books more or less, or do you think it drives the price up or down, or I don't know? Just curious.
For pre-code horror, there's a couple guys that have collections like that, like highest graded. I mean, that guy Gabe has like a Black Cat 15 and 9.6. That is a whole other area that doesn't affect the regular crowd. Even if you're going for like 7.5s, there's one guy on there that he's going after. He wants at least a 7.5 on his PCH copies. Now that's a high grade for a pre-code horror book.
Collector has,
but that's I've got a couple books in PCH that are 7.5s or higher. Not a lot, but I've got a few. They're not. But when you get to like a 9.6 or a 9.8. He's got a 9.8 of a Chamber Chills 19, the Misfits cover.
Yeah, God, that's crazy.
9.8.
Yeah, he's got a 9.8 of that, or 9.6 or 9.8, but he's got a 9.6 of a Black Hat 50.
I've seen the 8. I've seen a high grade, like a forget what it was, maybe a 9, high grade of a Witch's Tales. That I thought was just ridiculously like that's ridiculous. I'd love to see that again. Now I've seen 9.8s. That's crazy.
Those don't come up for sale unless it's an EC book. The EC, there's so many of those games copies.
EC, I'd say unless it's like part of the Harvey file, maybe.
But the guys who own those super ultra high grade PCH books,
The games copies and stuff.
they either had them for years or they bought it privately off the guy before them who had it for years. Those don't come up on market very often, ever. Even on Heritage featured auctions, you don't see those unless it's an EC book.
Do you see game copies ever?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those out there. Those come up every month.
I don't see those in the high 9s. I see those sticking around the 7.5 to 8.
There's some 9.8s of like some of the EC sci-fi stuff that are games copies that you'll see for sale, because if you look at the census on some of those
0.6 incredible, 9.6 I saw Incredible Science Fiction 33.
Yeah, and there's like, if you look at the census, there's double digits for the 9.8 and 9.6. There's like 20 or 30 copies in 9.8 and 9.6. Like Shock Suspense Story 6 has a bunch of 9.8s and 9.6s, and there's 2 9.9s.
Oof.
I don't know who owns those, but I mean, that's probably a couple $100,000 just because of the grade. That's not part of the PCH market. It's just a PCH book, but it's not part of the market that I'm in.
Does that guy, the Gabe guy, is he a comic dealer or just
Gaines file copy? Or?
No, Gabe. He's like
Black Cat Collection on Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't know. He's kind of private, and I really haven't talked much with him. He's private. He's quiet. He doesn't. He shows his books. From what I can gather from his posts, I think he has a store that sells comics and other stuff, maybe. But I think he's been somehow involved in like concert productions because he seems to be pretty close on a personal basis with bands like Danzig and Metallica.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was in like concert production or music world somehow, but he's got like Danzig memorabilia that's like very personally from Glenn Danzig, and he's got pictures of Kirk Hammett. So yeah, I don't know. He's been doing it for so long that he picked these up when they were quote cheap.
Yep, no problem. Evan, thank you very much for correcting me. He's not the presser. He just represents the owners if they wish to deal in those books. And I've seen that. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever go to any of the mega live auctions. Like there was one at C2E2. I didn't go this year, but I've been to a few just to sit there and drink around. I did buy one book once there, and you don't buy them at a premium. It's pretty much what it is. But the books that they have there are ridiculous. I'd love to do one of those auctions one time, just sit there and laugh when someone says, "You bid $100,000 for that piece of shit book," But it's just going to be fun.
Well, I bid $50,000 on a book once.
Oh my god!
And it was on Comic Link when I forgot to go on the first night when it opened because they don't have any way to track items. You have to bid on it for it to be on your list. So I missed it for a couple of days, and I was like, "Oh crap! I forgot to go check out Comic Link auction." And I wanted to keep track of the AF-15 that was like a 9.2 or something, 9.4, or some super high grade AF-15 that was going to sell for a couple $100,000. But the bid was already at like 47,500 or something. So the only way to track it was to enter a bid. So I bid like $50,000 on it, and I was the high bidder for like an hour. And then I got that email that said, "You've been outbid." So I bid $50,000 on a comic once.
And then you get
email that let you breathe again.
Well,
you get those free catalogs in the mail now.
I told my girlfriend I bid $50,000 on it, and she, sort of like, "What? There's no way you could pay for that. You need to retract that bid. Are you being serious right now?" So I explained to her that it was going to go higher, but then she's not sure it's going to go higher. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'll win $50,000. So.
Yep. All right, everybody. We're gonna wrap it up now. We went a little bit long, but that's fun.
Yep.
That's a good thing about talking about cultivation. Thank you all for hanging around. Evan, thanks again for the corrections. And Caleb, great having you from start to finish. Caleb is a big fan of the Gold Older guys. He's going out and getting his collection going out there. He just got himself a press right now, Paul. So you might want to sit there and maybe you get a protege there, show them exactly, share your tips and tricks and geeks and deeks, and let's get it done.
Or send someone to kneecap them.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you guys very much. So once again, thanks everybody. Anybody want to shout out anything they got going on their channels? I forgot.
No, I need to get back in the swing of things.
Yeah, I'll be
Once I
back.
get healthy.
Tomorrow night's Unlimited on Comic Core. Thursday night we'll be discussing, I think, Swamp Thing, hopefully. Friday will be the Comic Core Off the Rail show, and then there might be that new show that did you guys see that stuff that John Comics with Kids in there? It's a referee, the judge. Yeah, that's a good one.
That was cool. Comic Court.
Yeah.
I did a video today. I showed off some new pickups I had. If anybody wants to see some cool Golden Age books, you can go check out my video I posted earlier today.
Well, there you go.
Cool.
So
Thanks,
thank you,
guys.
everybody. Really appreciate it. And once again, thank you all for being a friend.